right, good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm so glad you're all here with us tonight. My name is E.R. Anderson. I am the Executive Director of Charis Circle. Charis Circle is the nonprofit programming arm of Charis Books. And Charis Books is the South's oldest independent feminist bookstore. I want to introduce you first to our ASL interpreter, H. Thank you for being here. And I want to welcome you all to the space of Auburn Avenue Research Library on African American culture and history. We are always so grateful to partner with the Auburn Avenue Research Library. We're grateful to be in this space and to share in the history of this building. We are really excited to bring music into this space because it has beautiful acoustics and it is a space built for singing. Tonight we are celebrating I Identify as Blind. It is a brazen celebration of disability culture, identity, and power. So first I'm going to introduce Lachi, and she's going to come out and sing, and then we will bring out our conversation partner. Lachi is an award-winning recording artist and world touring public speaker, and the first openly disabled national trustee of the Recording Academy, which is the body which presents the Grammys. Born legally blind, she is the CEO of RAMPed, which stands for Recording Artists and Music Professionals with Disabilities, a global network that has powerhouse partners including Netflix. She has co-produced The Colors in My Mind by Chris Redding, which is currently nominated for a Grammy. Named a USA Today Woman of the Year and a dedicated foot soldier for disability pride by Forbes, Lachi hosted the PBS American Masters series Renegades and was featured in the New York Times, Good Morning America, and Time magazine, and in ads for Google and MasterCard. She has spoken at the White House and the United Nations. She lives in New York City. So please put your hands together for Lachi.
Hey everybody. My name is Lachi, she, her. I'm a Black woman with cornrows. I identify as blind and neurodivergent. I am wearing ridiculous heels, blue and white striped pants, a white shirt, and I am rocking a blue and silver rhinestone glam cane. Clap for her, she is jealous. So I just flew in from New York, and boy is my cane tired. Anyone? No. Anyway, I'm really excited to celebrate I Identify as Blind with you here in Atlanta. Very, very excited. I actually recorded my audiobook with a director out of Atlanta named Nicole Shelton, who's here in the audience somewhere. So thanks, Atlanta, for helping me with my audiobook. And I think one of the things that I really want to harp on before I get into this song is this discussion of my visual description, which is what I just did for you today. So by way of hands, a visual description is when you describe what you look like so that blind folks have access to the stage. So by show of hands, how many people use visual descriptions in their everyday life, at work, or at school, etc.? Everyone? Everyone does? I don't know, I'm blind. Everyone's raising their hand. That's amazing. Great crowd, I love it.
Nobody think of it.
Okay, cool. So really, visual descriptions actually go beyond visual, right? They don't only help blind people with access to the visuals on the stage, but they help folks with neurodivergence who process differently feel more welcomed to what is on the stage or what is being described. When you give your self-description, you are telling folks how you want them to perceive you. And so my fuller self-description, I believe, is also my self-expression. So not only do I appear the way I appear, but I also am blind and neurodivergent. I have ADHD, which sometimes often leaves me feeling like, But when it's accommodated, it helps me power my 1 million and counting ideas. I also have OCD, which often leaves me in ritualistic situations like do. However, when accommodated, it helps me carry out those 1 million and counting ideas. I also have general anxiety, which often leaves me saying who, ha, who. However, when accommodated, those anxieties are excitement and allows me to feel human empathy, right? And my blindness, when accommodated, it allows me drive, focus, determination, and these dope glam canes. And these aren't just silver linings, these are facts. And so I share that with you because I am more than just the person you see. I am all of those things. My full identity encompasses my disabilities, my neurodivergence, and I find pride in all of it. So before we have this talk, I want to sing for you my visual description called Black Girl Cornrows. This song that I'm going to sing for you is called Cornrows Reimagined. It opens up my audiobook, and it is my fuller self description. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much. Hoo ha 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 shall be brought to light. If you ain't afraid to show me where your heart is, step into the light. If you ain't in the dark, show me who you are. Show me who you are. If you ain't in the dark, show me who you are. She, her black girl cornrows, black girl cornrows, black girl cornrows, high heels, gold wrist, black girl cornrows, big mouth, chest out, black girl cornrows, black girl cornrows, black girl cornrows, chest out, black girl cornrows. I'm Lachi, she, her, black girl, cornrows, brown skin, big city, raised, not born, though. See me with a drip from face to the shoelace, hanging from the cane when they see me blow the horns out loud. I'm an incredibly proud, daredevil African child, straight from the roots of a 10th-generation pursuit of me, chasing up greatness and bagging the loot. And my forefathers' crew, my forefathers knew when my rich mama flew to America, they would be better off shielded by heritage. I own the life of the whites, cause it's nice to be blind to the narrative. I came out, y'all was like, bruh, only a mother could love. Dreams on the hush, diamond and rush. as I dine for the shine, the blood, and I am enough. 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 Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lachi. And now we're going to bring out Dom Kelly. For folks who, I think many of y'all already know Dom because you are friends of his, you are, this is not, I'm going to steal your microphone. Please do. There you go. All right. I promise to get it back. All right, can y'all hear me now? Okay. I'm going to be out here lurking behind Dom. Dom Kelly is the co-founder, president, and CEO of New Disabled South and New Disabled South Rising. A disability advocate since age 4, Dom has led organizing, fundraising, and narrative change efforts across the South. He's a 2025 Atlantic Fellow for Health Equity and a 2023 J.M. Kaplan Innovation Prize winner. A former touring musician turned movement leader, he focuses on advancing disability justice and building power for marginalized communities. Dom lives in Atlanta with his wife and daughter, and we are so lucky to have him. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. And hi, Lachi.
Hey, what up?
I'm so excited.
I'm so happy that we're doing this. This is really fun.
I am. I have your book in my hand, and I have 10,000 Post-it notes in it, and tons of like scribbles and highlights. And
I am so excited to dig into that. Let's do it.
Yes. First thing I want to say, we have many things in common. I also have OCD. I also have ADHD. I also have general anxiety. I think I read in your book you have PTSD as well.
Undiagnosed PTSD as well.
Same girl. I also have PTSD.
Samesies, twins. Oh my God. Hey, are we like besties? Boom.
I was thinking if you like I could do something like hit your legs, break them a little bit. You could like blind me. You know what I mean?
You got it. We good?
And then we should,
I might miss.
Okay, that's fine. And then we could just like go out on tour and have
Let's do it.
Twins. Okay.
Jekyll and Hyde.
I wanted to start there. So thank you for that.
I'll do the comedy.
Okay, great. Yes. I'll leave it to you. First, I'm so excited about I Identify as Blind, and I wanted to see if you can just kind of start out by sharing, like, tell everybody more about why you wrote this book, why this moment was important for you to write this.
I feel that we're at a time where it's becoming very evident that we're all masking something. We're all in some closet or another, and we're all hiding some of the deepest parts of ourselves because, we're afraid of being too much, or we're afraid of being seen as weak, or we're afraid of being too different. And the thing about it is that we're hiding, some of the best parts of ourselves. That adversity that we fight against, right, is what perpetuates our deepest visionary and our deepest strengths and talents. But we keep that hidden to protect it because we're afraid of being pathologized. However, I think it's just because we just don't know how to talk about it. We don't know how to talk about these deep things within us without it sounding like charity, without it sounding medicalized, without it sounding like, inspiration-y or exploitative or sad or boring or annoying. And so beyond the book, it's why I do all the things I do. It's why I do the Glam Cane fashion line to really just celebrate disability in a fun way. It's why I do the music and the songs that I do to really talk about neurodivergence and differences in a joyous way, or these kind of deep topics in a jocular way. And I wrote this book, which is, there are definitely some tons of moments of levity, there's jokes, there's some rhymes, some rap bars, there's a lot of interviews with fun folks. And I wrote this book in this way to be able to invite folks to be able to talk about these things without those feelings of medicalization, fear of pathologization, et cetera, and really begin to unmask and start to kind of walk that path of liberation.
I love that. The first thing I really highlighted in here, which really struck me, was you started off by telling the story of how you were asked to talk about Ray Charles, and
Yeah.
And all the research you did. You went into the comments section and you saw some discourse, and how you didn't want to dig into the comments and respond, but you did. And something I highlighted, you said, I was onto something, and that something was the seed of this book. It's my celebration of big umbrella disability identity, currently coursing through the circulatory system of popular culture, along with the disability community's many innovations, works of creative genius, legislative wins, and stories of resilience and triumph. And I thought that was really powerful, that from your engaging in the comments section and engaging in discourse, that it was able to spark something. Yeah. So I'd love for you to talk about, like, how do you have conversations about this? And not just in the comments section on YouTube videos, like, how do you have conversations about disability identity, about disability pride, about how we talk about disability in our culture?
Well, I love to use sort of in-your-face things to kind of force the conversation among what I call normies. And folks who are not necessarily engaged with the disability identity or their own disability or neurodivergence or whatever, mental health conditions or any kind of chronic condition, right? Who see disability and this umbrella as a very them thing, or as a very like, maybe when I get older, or this is not something that directly affects me. My whole goal is to get folks to recognize that everybody has disability identity right now. Like, it's not a future thing. You actually have disability identity right now. So like a great example is, the disability umbrella is super wide and vast. It includes everything from chronic conditions like asthma or just chronic joint pain, to general anxiety, to seasonal depression, to tinnitus, to whether it's just breaking an arm or a leg or having light sensitivity, diabetes, et cetera. And I only named 7 things, and I'm pretty sure everyone in here kind of relates to one of those things. And even if you don't identify as a disabled person, you can recognize your disability identity. And so that's the thing I want people to recognize, because this fear of pathologization, if you celebrate your disability identity, you stop fearing pathologization, and that is the ultimate liberation. And so I try to get these conversations started by doing big conversation starters that you can't avoid. So you mentioned I was called to speak about Ray Charles on PBS. It was one of my first big appearances, if you were, and I was like, oh my God, I'm famous now. But they were like, actually, we just want to interview you about someone else. I was like, okay, thanks. And so we're doing the interview. I open up by saying, my name is Lachi, she, her, and I'm a Black woman with cornrows, and I identify as blind. We talk about Ray Charles for half an hour, talking about the black blind trope and all of that. And then after that, all the folks in the comments were saying, what does she mean by I identify as blind? You can't identify as blind. Or blindness is a medical diagnosis, not an identity. Or we don't want people to think trans blindness is a thing. Things like that. And I was just so excited that people were talking about it. Similarly, Google had called for me to be on a Super Bowl ad for Instagram and TikTok. And it was a similar thing. I said, I identify as blind in that ad. And this had, millions upon millions of views and hits. And all people could say was, what does she mean by I identify as blind? So sorry, Google, no one seemed to care about whatever the product was. I don't even remember. But then it was that can be exported. This idea of being on a pop culture platform doing something provocative that has to do with disability and then getting, you know, the general public to talk about it, whether they're upset or whether they're just engaged or whatever. And so it's permeated everything I do, from the glam canes being a conversation starter to some of the music I put out is very sort of in-your-face provocative about these topics, to this book, and specifically the title of this book, which the reaction from those commenters really, you know, propelled me to name it.
Another quote I highlighted, and let's see, you talk about camouflaging. Well, you talked about masking when we started speaking, but this quote specifically says that's the thing about camouflage. When you wear it, you end up sitting in the backseat of your own life. It denies you the freedom to define yourself and live your best life. When you come into the light, blinking and nervous, more often than not, you find there's a whole world of people who do understand and are waiting to say welcome. Can you describe maybe your own experience with camouflaging as a disabled person?
Yeah.
And then what was a moment for you that stands out in that world of people that said welcome to you?
Yeah. So it is so interesting. So many times, and I don't know, well, folks who, whether you're born with a disability or you gain it later in life, there's always this like still a journey of acceptance or disclosure or whatever. And you go through a period where you feel very isolated, and then eventually you go, hey, whoa, like, you know, there are other people going through what I'm going through. And that sort of feeling or that moment of realization is such a huge weight off your shoulders. So a really great example of me camouflaging is, so I used to have much better vision when I was younger. I was always low vision, but I had much better vision when I was younger. So I would do all that I could to be what I would call sighted passing. So trying to pass for sighted. And especially in the music industry, I would just downplay it. I would never mention it. But I was like tripping over wires. I was missing, you know, deal-making handshakes, right? I could miss a wave from a big A&R, and then all of a sudden I missed a record deal or a touring deal or an opportunity. Or, you know, I would get into a really amazing recording studio and like walk into the glass door. The bane of my existence is glass doors. You know, yours may be glass ceilings, mine are glass doors. So I started to realize that, you know, I'm getting more gigs, and I'm getting in bigger and better rooms. In order for me to actually just do better at my job, I'm going to need certain accommodations. And to get those accommodations, I'm going to have to say what the deal is. And so I started telling folks what was going on. And generally, because I was already sort of somebody out in the streets, in the music streets, people were pretty decently trying to help accommodate. And once I started getting my accommodations, I just started doing better. I started having more confidence, and that got me even more gigs. And at some point during that time, I had this like epiphany moment of like, there is no way that I am the only one. Like, obviously I'm masking, right? And so other people have to be masking, and I just don't know who it is. And eventually that turned into me creating Ramped, right? Which is like, you know, an organization of music professionals with disabilities who come together and network, et cetera, who are actively working in the music industry and trying to recognize that they're not the only one. One of the first folks that I saw that was actually out here doing this was well before I made Ramped. It was when I was watching the Drunken History episode and came across Judy Heumann. And I was like, what? You can be a badass out here fighting for disabled rights and be a woman too? What? I was just that was the beginning of me going, wait, there's a whole world I don't even know out here. Not only am I not the only one not masking, but there's actually people freedom fighting out here. And so that was the beginning of sort of my journey of like peeling off the layers. And it's so funny because a lot of folks think to themselves, hey, if I come out and peel away these layers and start telling folks, maybe I'll lose opportunities. Maybe I'll lose gigs. Now, I can't speak for everyone, this is just my experience, but again, when I took those layers off, sure, I lost some opportunities, but I don't think I wanted them anyway. I wanted the doors that were ready to open for the fullest, most liberated me, and so peeling off those layers was probably the only thing I could have done to become the successful person I wanted to be.
I love that, thank you. Yeah, so can you share a little bit about your journey into music? What was that, when did that start for you? How did you know you wanted to do this? And then what was your career like before you were like, I identify as blind,
Sure.
and this is who I am in music and in my life? What did that look like?
Well, so my mom says that while other babies were kicking in the womb, I was playing the keys against their stomach. I don't know how she fit a keyboard in there, but it's fine. They got the small Casios. So I was playing from a very, very early age, and music was always just a part of my life. I think my parents, I came out legally blind, and so they were like, oh, she's gonna be a prodigy, so they just kept feeding me like instruments. And so I always had music in my life, and my mother was very, very encouraging of it, but my dad was like, we need to make sure that you are a doctor, because you're Nigerian, right? So I can't blame my parents. I mean, they have a young, disabled daughter of color. They're, immigrants as well, and so they really pushed for me to go the straight and narrow path. So we go the straight and narrow path, but music is always kind of part of what I want to do. I get out of college, I get a job, and then myself and a guitar player, we head down to South by Southwest, and then this is in the 20 teens, back when South by was not an AI frat boy hangout, but an actual music festival.
I played South by the 20 teens 5 years in a row. We probably crossed
We may
that,
have, well...
But there's 20 million people
There's
there.
20 million, and you probably had a real stage, because you were a real
For
person.
2 years of those. The other ones, I don't even remember. On the street somewhere, probably?
Yeah. So so I played on the street somewhere, probably. It was so funny because we were just we just wanted to go and be part of the fun. And my guitar player was totally blind, and then I was legally blind. We wanted to go down there, and we got some gig at a hole-in-the-wall bar. And so we were so excited. We're we are gonna go down there and we're gonna be famous. It's over. We're gonna get signed, and no one's gonna be the wiser. So before we leave, and we're both just have day jobs, so we're PTOing to go down there. And I write to a bunch of major labels. I don't know how I got their emails. I'm very tenacious. And I was like, we're going to South by, and we're playing at this corny little bar that you haven't heard of. You should come and check us out and sign us. And knowing full well that's not how the music industry works. So we go down there, we play this little bar to our 7 friends and the bartender. And when we're done, this guy who we didn't know comes up and he says, here's my card. Hit me up when you're back in New York. I love what you guys are doing. And again, me and the guitar player are both blind, so we had to figure out the card thing. And we found out that he was part of what was at that time a major label called EMI. It's now under Universal. And he'd actually got my email and came to our show because of it. And then a couple months later, we were signed to this major label deal. And I wish that was the story. It's and then we blew up and we got famous. But what ended up happening, which is what generally happens with most major label deals, is the whole thing sucked and we were young and we didn't know what we were doing and we signed our lives away to this really bad deal. I put a band together of all my friends, and we were all varying flavors of blind. And they started calling us this blind band. And it was very shticky, and it was the blind band, come see the poor blind band, is how it very much felt, right? And I hated it. I hated it. I was people need to come for the music. And it's interesting, when I tell people this story, they're like, but Lachi, you run around and say, I'm blind. I identify as blind. Your book, it says, I'm blind on it. Today I say it from a place of power. And when they were saying it, it felt very pity-based. It felt very inspiration-y exploitation. And so I did what I could to get out of that deal. And I say, it took me 4 seconds to sign my name, and 4 years to get out of it. And I couldn't like make music, I couldn't put out new music for 4 years. And it was just like the most devastating. I had already like left my day job. I had jumped out to do this. And so I spent years, right, you know, doing other things, right? I was like recording backing vocals, uncredited songwriting, all this stuff, getting my chops up. And by the time the 4 years was up, I was just like in pocket. I ended up getting signed again to this really big dance electronic management deal. And so he starts having me write for other bigger artists. And I gotta say, I loved it. I loved just being a writer. Like I didn't have to put myself out there. I got to be with really cool people. I was like in rooms with famous people, and then I didn't have to do anything. I could just hang out with famous people and just be like, now sing my words. But eventually, I ended up doing a demo, and we were supposed to sell it to somebody else, but the DJ and the label, the producer and the label loved my vocals on the demo so much that they just put it out as me, and they wanted to put my name on it. And then that song ended up doing really well in the dance electronic space. And then I started getting like fans. And I was like, what is this? Stop. And my manager at the time was like, you need to go out there because your story is amazing. And you know, he was like, listen, I'm like a rich white guy, and every time I see you get up here and get in here, you inspire me to actually work harder. And so people need to hear your story. So I dove in and really just started telling the 3D version of who I was. I was a confident person, I was sought after, and so I decided to step into my identity as me. I had already built my own accessible studio. I had already come out to a lot of folks about my blindness and my disability identity, and I had already known that there were a pocket full of other folks who did. So I jumped all the way in, actually took a break again from music on my own terms to build Ramped. And then by 2023, I decided I wanted to start making music again, now that I had helped make a music industry that was more palatable for folks like myself and my colleagues who were also folks with disabilities and neurodivergence navigating the music industry.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's incredible.
It's all in the book too. And like right now, I'm saying it kind of dryly, but like when I say it in the book, there's like jokes that you cannot laugh at, like that you can say like, they're very dad jokey and like on purpose.
Which I love as a dad. Really
good dad
resonated
joke.
with me in the book. Sort of segueing from that, in your music, your identity and your experience are such an integral part of your music and your writing. How do you feel like now making art allows you to express like your full self? And I know you sort of alluded to this, but even just in your writing, like, have you ever struggled to write so candidly about who you are?
Probably in the past. Today, it just flows off the page. Like, we actually started writing this book December of 2023, and we finished it October of 2024. So we wrote it in under a year because we just kind of vomited it out very quickly because it was so just, here is the thing. And so today, my advocacy influences my art, and my art influences my advocacy. They're very intertwined. I don't think there's anything I do that doesn't have both of those entwined. And a lot of it is because, I look back at my 8-year-old self, and I think, what are the things I wish I had that would have put me on such a liberated path so much earlier? Somebody had asked me, like, do you have any grief about just your disability journey and this and that? Because I talk so proudly and openly and excitedly about my disability. And, I often say, I was blind and neurodivergent as a kid and had a lot of shame and was super shy. And today I have no shame and I'm a social butterfly, but I'm still blind and neurodivergent. So obviously that wasn't the issue. I say it wasn't the condition, but the conditioning. And I feel that, if I had the things that I have now to be liberated. I think the grief is in the fact that I wish that I was liberated so much sooner, right? It's not about the loss of vision. It's not about having the neurodivergence. It's about the just not being liberated sooner, not accepting it sooner. The hardest, I guess another thing someone asked was like, what's the hardest part about being blind? And I tell them, there's nothing hard about being blind. That's me, I'm born blind, there's nothing hard about it. What's hard is inaccessibility. What's hard is ableism. What's hard is ableist attitudes. What's hard is jerks. What's hard is, buttheads and dickweeds, right? But the being blind part isn't hard, that's just who I am, it's natural. And so if I had that message when I was 8, if I had I remember when a social worker told my mom I needed to start using a cane around when I was 8. And I remember taking the cane and running over it with my bike in the driveway. I should have put that in the book. And if I had glam canes when I was 8, that would be a different discussion. And I remember, this is probably about 2 years ago now, I was telling this to someone, and a week later, because that's just how my life always is, I'll say something and then something will happen a week later. Maybe it's the algorithm, they're all listening to us on our iPhones. But an 8-year-old, a mother had bought a glam cane for her 8-year-old. And I just burst into tears. If I had ramped when I was coming up in the music industry, or even when I was 8, and I was pointing at the TV and saying, Mommy, Mommy, I want to do that. Watching the Grammys and saying, I want to be that. But my mom knowing that there was nobody that I could put on top of my vision board to get there. My teachers not knowing, my friends not knowing, and even I not knowing. Not having the role model to model that role after. If I could have Googled music and disability and Ramped popped up, and those role models popped up. Or, Ramped has worked to bring sign language to the red carpet for the Grammys to really just showcase that advocacy while also doing the internal work. If I had seen, even as a girl that has a different disability, I'm not deaf, but to see sign language and to see that access and that representation, if I had seen that, right? If I had had this book, that's why I wrote this book. And that's why I wrote it the way I did. I wrote it in a way where I could read it, maybe not at 8, maybe more at least 14, I don't know. But I could read this book in a way that invited me to start walking that path and start realizing the strength I had within my own self, unfurling the ableism that I didn't own, then I would be so much further. I like to use this example, this discussion of the ableism I didn't own. No one's born ableist. No one's born with internalized ableism. No one's born with a fear of inferiority. So okay, picture this. You and a buddy run into a convenience store, right? And then your friend steals a whole bunch of stuff. And you're like, dude, don't do that. What? It's not that expensive. It's a gas station. It's no, I'm a klepto. I can't help it. And then you guys run out of the store, and then he just tosses everything he stole to you. Says, hold this real quick. And you're like, and then he runs off, and then the cops show up. That's internalized ableism. You didn't do it. It was just handed to you. And now you've got to deal with the consequences of it. And so what I'm trying to do with the glam canes, with the music, with this book, is to invite people to toss all that crap on the ground and experience the liberation you had before you were given that internalized ableism.
We're not at the final question, but I just want you to know my final question I was going to ask you, which I'll have a different one now, was if teenage Lachi could read this book, what do you hope she'd feel and experience after she finished it? Which I think you answered very well.
Absolutely.
If you have other thoughts on that, please feel free to.
Well, I want people to walk away with just feeling invited to understand their disability identity, recognize that, if you want to be a true ally to disability, it is recognizing your disability identity, right? You can't truly empathize unless you recognize yourself in someone else. I want people to have the ability to talk about disability, neurodivergence, mental health conditions, chronic conditions, in a way that it does not encompass a fear of pathology, of being pathologized. Because I figure you can be pathologized for being a woman with, hysteria. You can be pathologized for being black with phrenology. You can be pathologized for being an immigrant, for being queer, for being trans, for being anything. And so it's why I celebrate my disability identity, because celebrating disability says, screw your pathology. Oops, I know there's kids in here, so sorry, but I really had to put the finger up.
I'll learn sooner than later, so.
Exactly. But to walk away with this excitement to unmask, that's what I want people to walk away with.
We have time for me to ask you one more question,
Sure.
and I'm going to combine two questions here.
Sure.
One part that really stood out to me, and I really appreciate that you highlighted disability justice
Absolutely.
so explicitly, and it woven throughout, but really, really named it. And I love, I'm not going to read the full quote, but from Kia Brown. And I love what she said: I can't divorce my queerness from my disability, or my blackness from my disability, or my disability from my queerness and my blackness. I'm all these things and my womanhood at once. And then a little bit later on, it says, and unsurprisingly, the folks insisting we focus on our similarities rather than our differences are the ones who have the luxury to do so. One of the things that I love about you, your writing, your music, when I listen to Cornrows, and I love the reimagined version, by the way, which I know you also released
Yes,
now, and
yes.
it's wonderful. I love that you talk about your black skin, your cornrows. If I'm hearing the lyrics correctly, is there something about big titties in there too? Is that right? Am I right?
I say big mouth, chest out.
Okay, I thought there was the words big titties. I also asked my wife, I'm like, are you hearing this, or is this just me?
I mean, I do have them.
No, but I thought that you explicitly said it. Okay, well then, ignore me. Talk to my wife later about this. So we'll go back to that. No, I'm just kidding.
But big butt too. Like, you want me to mention all of it?
So you just do it, yeah. Well, the point being, you are very loud and proud about who you are, every
Yes.
part of who you are.
Yes.
Which, as Kia said, of course, you can't not be any of those things.
Right.
But I think in this moment in time, especially politically, this is a time when a lot of people are afraid to be their full selves because DEI is being attacked, because trans people are being attacked. All the things that this country, this world is going through right now. Why do you feel it's important for a book like this to be in the world, for your music to be in the world, and for people to continue to be fully who they are, especially in moments like this when it comes with potentially such significant consequences?
Well, because I think we're just being programmed to fear freedom. That's all it is at the end of the day. We are being told that freedom is bad. We're being told that freedom is wrong. And we're being told to fear it and avoid it. And I am not going to not be free. I am going to be free. So if you're going to box me in and shut the door, I'm going to find a window and I'm going to climb out. If you're going to shut the window, I'm going through the chimney. You're going to shut the chimney, I'm going to fit through some, I'm out. Okay? And what these things are ways to shut us in and keep us fearing freedom. This is what this book is. It is an invitation out of that room, invitation out and from hiding from the mask. So one of the concepts I talk about in the book is this thing called the reference man. And the reference man is essentially just the perfect, it's an unattainably perfect, society's discussion of what perfection is, or what good is, or what right is, or what hireable is, or what a superhero is, right? And generally, it is a cis, straight, white male in their 20s or 30s, full head of hair, you know what I mean? Healthy, right? And the further you deviate from this reference man, the more imperfect you are, the less hireable you are, the further from good you are, right, is what we're being peddled. Now, here's the thing. When you look at the winners or the folks who do the amazing things, right, they are always just completely 100% and unapologetically themselves, right? They're not trying to fit this mold that you're supposed to be fitting in, right? So why do you have to fit in it? Why are you being told to fit in it when the winners aren't being told to fit in it, right? The other thing about this reference man, and I had this conversation because I was talking about the reference man to like a group of straight cis white males, right? Perfect audience to talk about it, right? And the conclusion we came to was none of you are it either. You're too short. You're too tall. Your full head of hair isn't full head of hair enough. All of them were neurodivergent, we all ended up figuring out by the end of the discussion. You have this, you have that. No one actually fits this discussion of perfection, right? And so when we talk about us using whatever the mechanism is, whether it's ableism, whether it's racism, whether it's sexism, whether it's anti-immigration, whether it's ICE, whether it's whatever, it's the mechanism that's the problem. It's never going to be the person, right? Because if you have that mechanism, that tool for othering, that tool for hate, sure, you can use it against folks of a different color, you can use it against women, you can use it against trans folks, and then all of a sudden it's just you and your neighbors and your friends. Then you gotta use it against them. And then it's just you and your family. Then you start to use it against your brother. You start to use it against your sister because you have that mechanism. And then all that is left is you and your internalized inferiority that you never addressed. And that is what this book seeks to dismantle. The internalized inferiority that we need to address so that we can take that mask off and crawl right up out that chimney. Thank you.
You're amazing. I just want to do this. If y'all want to stay like till like midnight or something, we can just keep doing this. I have a lot of questions. I want to open it up to you all to ask some questions. There's a mic over here. I did not give my visual description. Please give your visual description. My visual description: white man with brown curly hair, and I'm wearing all black as always, and a green shirt.
Big titties?
I do. Those are for a different show. I really need to listen to lyrics better. Okay.
I like that your wife totally backed you up on
Yes,
that.
we were both. She was like, yes, absolutely, that's what those. I promise you. I was like, great. I still love the song, by the way.
If folks are able to come to this mic, great. If not, we will have a game of telephone, and you can say your question to me, and I'll come up with it.
So please come to the mic if you are able to. If not, we will.
We have time for about 3 questions.
I know there are some questions in here.
Yeah, don't worry, I don't bite. I only nibble.
Go for it.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm 9 years old, and I came to this because my mom told me to.
Aww. You should have said I came and I told my mom to.
And my name is Wally.
Hi.
And I have a question for you.
Sure.
What age did you start making the book? And how did you like to describe it?
Well, we started the book in 2023, which is, 2026 now? So 3 years ago. You would think that, when you look at like publishing, I was like, ooh, I wrote the book. Let's put it out. And then 2 years went by because they were like, oh, we have to market it. And we have to prepare people for it. None of them are English. Sorry, I don't know why I did that. But I think the real answer is I actually started writing the book back when I was your age, back when I was 8 years old. And I think it was the moment 9 years old. I think it was, my bad. I think it was the moment when I realized I wanted to be those folks on television and saw that there was like no way for me to get there, right? I'm actually a track runner. So I ran track throughout high school. And it was one of those things where I would always think to myself, I'm standing here and I'm gonna get to the finish line. I don't know how, but I will. And when I was really young, I was thinking, I'm sitting here and everybody's telling me I can't do this. Like they don't know how I'm gonna become like, you know what's so funny, actually? I recently went back to my like diary of when I was 8. So it was 8, sorry, it was a year younger. But I went back to my diary when I was 8. And in my diary, I had said, when I grow up, I want to be what did I say? I said I wanted to be a big time musician, and I wanted to have a music studio in Manhattan, and I wanted to be a big time author that was signed to a major publishing deal. And then I had to go through all these twists and turns. I had to go to college, get a job, go to South by, do all this other stuff. And now today, I am a Grammy-nominated musician. I have a studio in Manhattan, and I finally got the last one, which was to be published by a major author. So at 8, I must have knew something, because here I am now. And I like saying the track analogy, because folks often say like, Lachi, why do you find pride in disability? Well, I find pride in it because it's like, I feel like I'm doing amazing stuff with like, blind, like with one hand behind my back. Like I'm such a problem solver. I'm super driven and determined because of my disability. So when I was running track in school, I was super fast to the point, now this is gonna be really cocky, to the point where we would run like those dashes. And they would say, in your mark is set, go. And I would let everybody go for like 3 seconds. And I'd be like, I'll see y'all on the other side. Like, I'll give you high five from the other side of the finish line. And I would always still win. And it's that. It's like, I am playing the game of life on hard while folks are still consulting the manual. Anyway, thank you so much for that question.
Hi.
Hi.
Redhead Winston, green shirt, tan pants. Wally has blonde hair, blue eyes, green shirt, and tan, and orange shoes.
Ooh, orange shoes. I'm here for it. I love it. Love the colors. One family, one extended network. One question per extended network.
Hello.
Hey.
Kristen White, African American, 50-ish, lighter hue, shoulder length hair. You get the drift.
I got you. We good.
Beautiful coat.
And a zebra type coat, but not quite zebra.
Let's rock that zebra.
I am the state director of the Georgia Library Service of Blind and Print Disabled. We requested your book this week in
Let's
multiple
go.
formats.
Okay.
So,
I love it. Yes, we have hard print, we have large print, we have the audio book,
Yes.
and it is, and then the hard copy is dyslexic friendly font.
yes. And we are also working on Braille.
Yes.
This is my question. There is a bill working through the Georgia legislature right now. It goes through every year. It never passes.
Mm.
It's called the Braille Education Bill. And it is to put that it is required that students be taught Braille in school, in their IEP, because right now that is not a requirement in the state of Georgia. We take literacy very seriously, and as many forms of literacy as possible, we promote to our patrons. So we are trying to get on the front end of this because we do think it's going to pass eventually, and cultivate more readers of young people from the print disabled community. What are your suggestions?
I mean, if you're looking for celebrity buy-in,
Absolutely.
I do think that, so like I know that right now so folks who are blind, about 10% of folks who are blind do read Braille. I read first grade Braille, still working on my second grade Braille, because I got jealous. We were at like a sort of like almost like a camp, and it was lights out. They turned all the lights off, and then all of my total friends who read Braille were just having a good time. And I was like, really? Really? Okay, got you. So yeah, I believe it is not only really important for folks to have different ways of reading, but also it's not just beneficial for folks who are blind. It's beneficial for folks with all sorts of neurodivergencies, and I know for me, it has actually helped me more with other skills. And I don't know if this is true or not. There hasn't been any kind of scientific, or maybe there has been, but it has helped me with, other forms of literacy, like math, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel that it is super duper important. I am not a super duper political person, so I can't help give you any guidance politically, but what I can say is I think it is a really cool concerted effort, and if you want my support in some way, I'm here to give it.
We're just trying to cultivate the readers. We'll leave the politics to the politicians.
I would like to offer my help on the policy side, if I can be of help through New Disabled South, so we should connect.
Sounds good.
Yes.
And we're such a dynamic duo up here, Dom and I. And so here's something you don't know. I'm actually working on a kids album. So you folks, the family over there, we're working on a kids album centering disability and neurodivergence, set to bops, okay? Because your girl out here only does dope stuff. And I wiped the cobwebs off of Dom's microphone and said, get on this record. So Dom will be a part of my next album coming out in July. Thank you so much for that question.
I just told Lachi this before we got on stage, but because of that, I went and wrote a whole solo record in 5 days. I'm doing music again. It's you. I'm going to forever credit you.
Oh yeah, no, let's go, 5%. Go for it, I love it. Hello, yes, hi.
Thank you so much for gracing us with your knowledge and presence here today.
Thank you.
My name's Maria. I'm a black female, long curly hair, wearing a cream sweater, denim jeans, and some really cool soft boots.
Let's go soft boots.
So I have kind of like a two-parter for you. So I've been looking a lot into technology for, the special needs population, just to kind of broaden it out a little bit. And I was doing a lot of research, and I have seen more and more products for low vision and blind and all those things. The first part is, have you seen those products evolve over time? And then the comment you made about those products being expanded for other people, how can we use the enthusiasm people have given to those who are blind and low vision and get more of those, I should have said technology, where we include even more people with additional needs. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I feel like at some point somebody must have really advocated to make sure that they had more technology for low vision and blind population, and kind of how can we piggyback on that and make sure that other people want to invest in technology for others as well.
Oh, I see. Okay, so several things. First and foremost, I feel that everything is access tech, right? So I think back before we had chairs, somebody was like, I need to sit. My access need is that I need to not be standing anymore. And so that a chair was the innovation, I think clothing is access innovation. Everything we have is access innovation, right? The fact that we have audiobooks in the first place were for the blind. They were called talking books, and now everybody uses talking books, right? Universal design. I think remote controls were eventually used for folks who could not get up to reach their television, and now it is just second nature. Curb cuts, right? Curb cuts were originally made for folks with wheelchairs to be able to get onto the sidewalk, and now everybody, whether it's a stroller, whether it's just somebody with a bunch of grocery bags, everyone uses curb cuts. And honestly, what I'm talking about is something called the curb cut effect. But essentially, it is designing something for folks with disabilities that eventually everybody uses, and it's now universal design. And I think a lot of times, buy-in starts to happen when folks start recognizing the universal benefit of the technology, right? It's why I focus so hard on, we're not us versus theming, we're weing. Ooh, that didn't sound right. I'm gonna go ahead and scratch that and try that one again. But really, when we start to, I guess, I don't want to say market, but really to discuss this technology from the framework of how many folks can benefit from it beyond the very specific population you're talking about. That is at least the angle that I would take. So that's number one. The other thing I wanted to point on too is when we talk about different populations, I do also feel that language is super duper important. Empowering language is good not only for folks with disabilities, who identify with disability, but folks, non-disabled folks. So for me personally, I don't love to use terms like differently abled, or handy-capable, because I feel that those are euphemisms and that there's nothing wrong with disability that needs to be euphemized, right? I just love to say the word disability. Now, I love the word disability. Disabled, this disabled, that disabled, new disabled, right? And also, I don't love the idea of like highlighting the A or just focusing on the ability, because I see disability identity as one full identity, and I take pride in that. The other thing too is, and I don't love the term special needs. I have special needs, but they're in the bedroom. DM's open, wink. But I don't love the term special needs because everybody has individual needs. So I think it is really important, look at the language you use. The last thing I'll also say, and this is not to answer your question, this is just me being ADHD and just remembering something. There are so many formats of the book. No matter how you want to enjoy reading it, leave a review. Please, I could use these reviews. And if you want to leave a bad one, don't leave your name or your number, because I will find you and call you, track you down. But thank you so much for your question. I hope that helps.
It did. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Lachi. Thank you, Dom. Thank you, H. We appreciate you. And thank you to all of you for joining us tonight. All of your books are pre-signed, so if you would like to just grab a book and get on home, that's totally fine. But if you would like to have a moment with Lachi and have your book personalized, you can get in line and do that as well. So if you need to buy a book, you're going to get in line on the right-hand side of the table. And if you already have a book and you want to get it signed, you're going to get in line on the left-hand side of the table.
Thank you guys so much.
And if you just need to go home, that's okay too. We hope that you are safe and well, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.